Hey everyone, I'm back to continue my discussion. Now last video I was talking about when I tried going online to do the I'm so sexy thing, and that's the point where I started going on the internet and trying to make contact there. And I just thought, to this day I kind of wonder if I gave them the idea for mindphaser.com. So you can say probably not. Maybe it was just a colorful synchronicity, because there's also, or synchronicity is the word. Sometimes there's things they just kind of clink together. Maybe you're just on time to see something, and it had nothing to do with what you said or wished, right? So who knows? But at any rate, before that, I also did a video talking about I've had dreams and stuff leading up to this day that I got to go meet Frontline Assembly and see their show that day. It had been the second time going to see them, but the first time being able to really talk to Bill Leeb at any extent. And I started this playlist, the JodyVision, shortly after my friend Rosie Clearlight died, because it's really kind of a reflection on my life and how I got here, and that type of thing. And part of the reason I came to live with Montana, because Rosie's like the only person I could really talk to about anything like this. And I feel like being set up to meet Bill Leeb and being made to look bad, I felt like it was wrecking a lot of my relationships, and just people thinking I'm crazy. And even though I shouldn't take any of that personal, it was just making me feel isolated and alone. So maybe that's why the song Isolate was also an important piece of my feeling that dream state connection with Bill Leeb. The song Isolate, feeling isolated, not really having anyone to talk to. And like Rosie was the only person I felt like I could talk to that didn't think I was crazy, because she also has similar experiences, right? If not more, and more extreme ones. And so I was really looking for someone to help me through this, because it was just really bothering me for a long time. One way or another, it's bothering me, and I couldn't really just put it behind me and forget about it. And that's why I think I need to share these videos, because it's kind of like a healing process to be able to share about this whole journey, because I feel like it's something that people don't really understand about me. And if you were willing to understand me, and putting it all on video, and I know there's a lot there, especially because I don't just tell the story, I kind of do a lot of asides while I'm doing it. And so I kind of want to share a little bit about what I'm doing right now. Again, I've been like sorting out Rosie's stuff and deciding what to throw away and what to keep. And just for fun, maybe I'll give you a quick tour of the project, So we had a lot of stuff like this from her office in Big Fork. So we moved out of Big Fork in I'd say I think it was 2012 into 2013. The house had black mold in it. We had a nice 3-bedroom place with a basement and a yard on Electric Avenue in Big Fork, and we had to move in part because of that black mold. And Rosie thought maybe that's been what's making her sick, because she hasn't been able to get anything done, and she was trying to run an online business and very motivated, but something was shutting her down. So as I do this, I can't just throw stuff away. Maybe I have a hoarder mentality, so I'm just like, I'm going to donate it. And I found a place called the Blessings Box, like the notebooks and stuff like this. I don't really need this stuff, but I don't want to throw it away. There's all kinds of stuff, like paper, just odds and ends. Maybe that stuff should go in the trash, but I'm not sure. I'm laughing about that. But so I'm not too quick to throw stuff in the trash without letting somebody at least give it a shot. Somebody else can throw it away, but maybe somebody could use that stuff, right? So I don't know. I found some cool stuff that I can keep. I thought that's kind of interesting. So I'm gonna look through all this stuff. That box has a lot of jewelry making stuff. So and then so like notebooks, and then see that thing with Rosie Clearlight. I got a lot of cool pictures and stuff that I am trying to save up. So I'm going to try to save up any like pictures and stuff. Like, I don't want to just throw it away, but I don't want to keep it. And I'm going to send it to her granddaughter Garrity, because so how I made the connection with Rosie was, of course, I saw her in a visionary state back in 1982. Like she was the person that was the guardian parent of Bill Leeb, who appeared to be 2 years older than me. So I've got this whole story about that. And then when I met her in reality, I didn't make the connection right away. It took a few things. And then so in the order of events, since I'd moved to Denver, I saw Frontline Assembly in '96. So it's the first time I, like, you know, met Bill Leeb in person, but we didn't really talk. And it just seemed like just a couple months later, I made friends with Rosie. And we stayed in touch off and on, but it seemed like when we got to this point here, we had lost contact, and she was already in Big Fork, and this stuff was starting to happen. So, like, I was really missing Rosie, and that's where I was kind of being isolated by not being able to reach out to someone who I could talk to. So finally, after things settled down in 2002, I got a hold of her again, and that's how I ended up making plans to come up here. And so that's how I got here, basically. And anyways, also going back to the beginning of my life, it seems like I've always been this weird person, and I've always been kind of a target for, you know, the bullies at the bus stop. But then at the same time, I wonder, you know, if it's accurate to say I'm also a scapegoat for my family, kind of like, you know, the whole narrative of, like, my parents didn't really want to get married, except the birth control didn't work, or my grandma never really wanted my mom and dad to get married, but she also thinks that if you have kids, you should stay married. So there's always been this old thorn in our side from somewhere, and my parents have just fought and fought and fought when I was growing up. So, you know, it creates a lot of stress, and kids sometimes, they, you know, it makes it harder for them to socialize, and they may also have things like invisible friends, right? So we, you know, in hindsight, you might think, well, maybe Bill Leeb was there to be my invisible friend, to make me feel like I had a friend that cared about me, and stuff like that. So you might want to look through my videos to look for those stories. And then at some point I started to remember, I think I know Bill Leeb from somewhere. That'd be like around 1993. So that's why, again, I saved this picture from this magazine, you know, because this was the magazine my dad handed me, and probably like late summer of 93, saying, isn't that your little friend from down the street? Well, I've always been in disbelief. Oh my goodness. It's always been hard for me to believe it was a good idea to write to Bill Leeb, and it took a lot of things. And so so if you've been watching my videos, you know, lots of cool dreams, and then that phone call from Rosie, and then I wrote them, and then and so we went to the show. So again, same pictures from my last video. The wax tracks, this is the first wax tracks in Denver, Colorado, and the second one was in Chicago, and that's where the record label got started. Now, I don't think Bill Leeb was really on wax tracks that much, but he's always been kind of part of that family. And then, of course, that's the picture of me and him in 2007 with a lot of glare on it. And there's my haircut that I had the day I went to see him, so we got a good shot of that. But not a very good shot of Bill Leeb and Chris Peterson. I'm making a shadow, but of course, I saved my ticket, you guys. So November 6, 1998, and they were touring with Kevorkian Death Cycle. And so here's a quick glance of the ticket from next year. Some of the other tickets from bands that I've gone to see, so you kind of see who I listen to. And so I'm kind of a tomboy. I really don't see myself as a, you know, like this pretty girl that Bill Leeb wants to get in bed, right? So, and then I really wanted to invite him over to meet Captain Clunkum, because Captain's a big, scary, dragonly little green parrot, and maybe serenade him, I don't know. Now this is a picture of Rosie when I moved to Big Fork. That's what Rosie looked like. And so, like, Bill Leeb and Rosie don't know each other, but the connection is that she was in the same vision when I first met either of them in 1982, and then when I met them in reality, let's say, you know, after the visions happened and stuff, I started wondering if she knew him, so I got a hold of her in 2002, and that's when I found out she doesn't know him. But when I moved to Big Fork, I'd say about 2010, like, I think this stuff was kind of catching up with me, and I was kind of going into another one of my little episodes, and it was making me kind of mad at her. I felt like she wasn't telling me the truth. So that's kind of what happened here is, like, throughout my life, it seemed like my family knew about my little boyfriend named Billy, but then when I started remembering it and I asked them, they also didn't remember this. So this is where, you know, something's making me look crazy, and I just kind of wanted to get away from my friends, and that's kind of why I'm here. And I'm getting ready to go back to Denver, so I feel like I kind of have to do something to find peace with all this stuff. So in a way, it's kind of like me having to go through all this stuff, because I'm also doing this with my stuff, is I have to decide what to let go of. So that's a healing process. And not only that, but hopefully maybe these videos reach the right people and we do get a better understanding. And that includes my close friends and hopefully Bill Leeb and his wife. Maybe they'll someday feel like, okay, now I understand you. And if they never understand me, so be it. But they have the opportunity. Now, I came to the show and we went to the, first we went to the autograph signing, okay, and that was kind of nice. You know, we had to stand in line. So as you see, I was standing in line there. And the closer I got to Bill, the more exciting it felt. You know, I couldn't wait to introduce myself and talk to him a little bit and see if I could get him to make time for me later that day. So when I got up to him, we chatted a bit. And there was a song on their new album, Beggar Steal, What's the Deal? He's for money, he's not real. And we thought, well, maybe since Reese left the band, Bill Lee could have been mad at him. And so my friend Chris was asking Bill if they wrote that song because of Reese, and I'm not sure if he said he did or not. I can't remember what the answer was. It's kind of unfortunate. It's like a bad story, but like, and I said something like, yeah, you know, I have a little nickname for him. I call him Reese Cheese. And Bill goes, oh, that's funny. You know, I had a little nickname for him too. And he said they called him Chuck E. Cheese because he reminds them of Chucky the doll a little bit, right? So who knows? So we had a laugh about Reese, you know, and his cheesiness. But at the end of the day, I also like to say Cheese Master Leeb, so he's also guilty of adding a slice or two when he should not have him. But let's see. And then I turned to Chris Peterson. I'm like, oh, so you must be Chris Peterson. He goes, yes, I am. What have you heard about me? And I'm like, well, I heard that you were Bill Leeb's new assistant electronic executionist, you know. So I had to show him my nerdiness. You know, we laughed, and I told Bill I hope we could set up some time. And that's when he told me, you know, we could probably have a party at my house if we wanted. So it sounded like he was willing. And I told him, well, I'm not sure if it's a good idea because I just have such a, and I live in a studio apartment. It's just such a small space. And I, you know, when he said a party, I just thought, you know, bring in like a dozen people or something. Otherwise, we did end up at the Netherworld, which is it's like a goth bar that's like a block up the street. So we'll get to that later. Anyways, after that, we left and went shopping at Fashion Nation. And so, thought my friend Chris said he saw Bill and them outside. So we went out to look for them and they disappeared. So I almost felt like they were hiding on us. I don't know if we just didn't catch up to them on time or if they deliberately didn't want to get caught. But he was like, Jody, there they are. And so I almost thought we should go try to talk to them again. So I don't know, like, you know, so that's like the first like tint of rejection maybe. That's why I guess I brought that up. I could have left that out. But then we did go to the show, and stuff like Kevorkian and Death Cycle, you know, to me those are like kind of pretentious. They're just like a Halloween band, you know, like we're gonna start a band to be a band, like, you know, it's fun. It's just not, you know, it's not really great music, so I don't really remember them well and never owned anything of theirs. So we saw them in the Frontline Assembly, and then but yeah, you know, I've been doing what I call kung fu dancing and stuff. So like, you know, I like to put on the music and move around because I've been doing kung fu, and I think I had my black belt about that time. I've been doing martial arts to music, you know. So what I like to do for a good time is you know, I was living in the basement apartment, and I could kind of play my music and dance around without bothering anybody, you know. And I had a high ceiling, so I could also move my nunchucks, and so it was really helping me, you know, get good at my weapons because I like what I call rhythm training. But you know, just working on kind of shadow boxing and, you know, kind of like trying to, you know how they call it improvisational dancing, something like that, but with the kung fu. And then I had my friend Chris and other people do that with me. And since Chris was there at the show, I kind of got him to spar around a bit to the music. And so, so Carol Ann Lopke mentioned that, like, as soon as we walked outside, there she was. She had pen and paper in her hand, and she had said, hey, you know, she got my attention, and she said she saw me dancing, and it looked like I was having so much fun and smiling and everything. And then she wanted my contact information, and I felt like this is somebody that wanted to stay in touch with me. And I was just kind of, I don't know, I guess I'm kind of naive. You know, I'm just thinking, oh, she wants to stay in touch with me. And I tried to like figure out, like when I tried to size her up or whatever, I just felt like, you know, she didn't really look like she was a concert goer. Like she didn't look like she was one of the fans. I thought she must be somebody working here. Either she's traveling with the band or she was working for the theater, but she didn't look like she was here for the show. And then I went around back to look for Bill Leeb, and And that's when there was this guy with the dark hair and the mustache yelling, "See you later, groupies." And then, of course, I see Bill Leeb and Chris Peterson getting a vehicle with Doug from Fashion Nation. So I explained that in that other video. I had a kind of a clash with one of his sales reps, and then later on saw him pointing at me and explaining what I had done. And I felt like, oh no, I figured these guys are going to try to keep Bill away from me. So I kind of blamed them for it. And by the end of the night, I thought it was their fault. And so I was definitely feeling a little threatened by seeing that. And then, but just for good measure, I asked Doug if it was okay to ride along because they still had space in the back. And he said, we don't have room. So a blatant lie to keep me from riding with them, right? So anyways, we went to the netherworld, and I walked in and I could see Bill sitting there along the bar. And when I came up to him, he sounded really friendly and pleasant, and I can't remember like how far I got, but after seeing him with Doug, I said, "Listen, I live a block up the street." I said, "If you want, we can get out of here and go chill out over there." And that's when this woman with the long dark hair, she kind of came and squeezed in, and she said, "Whatever you do, don't let that psycho bitch take you home with her." And then Bill got down and walked away, you know, and after a while I saw him sitting at the bar again in a different location. So I tried to talk to him one more time, and then he seemed really friendly again, like he was willing to talk to me. I felt like it was going to be okay for us to talk. But then my friend Chris kind of came up and started butting in, and his girlfriend was coming up because I felt like maybe it was bothering her, like she thought maybe, you know, Chris was jealous of me talking to Bill, and I could feel her, like I could feel all this tension and stuff, like a lot of tension coming with those guys, and that could have been my misunderstanding, but still, with that and Bill's wife coming up, and she was kind of squeezing in and whispering in his ear, and then she backs out and says, "Hey, can we get your phone number?" And he goes, "Well, I don't give my phone number out. I don't want people calling me late at night with technical questions or looking for technical advice." And I felt like that was one of his little hints that he got my letter and he doesn't want me to get his phone number for that reason, you know. And I felt like she was faking, because like I said, I thought she was working for the theater, probably working with the band, or possibly even the band manager, you know. And so I invited her to come so that way Bill would have his protection with him, you know, and have another woman there that he knows personally, and make it more of a safer interaction. Because, you know, and I was naive at the time, but I think if you're touring with a band and somebody you don't know is inviting you to their house, it's really not a safe idea for a number of reasons, you know, whether that person's going to hurt you or they've got somebody waiting there for you, you know, it could be a setup, you know, so like just to be on the safe side, you don't let people take you any place unless they seem to be a legitimate connection, right? So like being able to ride with Doug, because I think what I've learned later also is people like that, like they own this fashion store with like cool goth clothing and boots and all that and jewelry, right? So they own the Fashion Nation or run the Fashion Nation store, and they are also promoters. So when bands come to town, you know, they can, you know, hang out with these bands and stuff. That's kind of one of the perks. But at the same time, the band needs to go with somebody they find safe. So I didn't understand that at the time, what was going on. I just felt like Doug was keeping me away from Bill Leeb too. And and I kind of held it against him. And I was really mad at his friend for turning Doug against me and letting it lead up to this instance, you know, like it doesn't matter what people think about you. It really only matters what they're in the position to do to you. Like, to me, I felt like they were in the perfect position to ruin my night when I had a chance to meet Bill Leeb. To top it all off, Bill Leeb seemed like he wouldn't have minded talking to me, except for all this sort of pressure. Seemed like the wife was trying to break us up. You know, Chris was once my boyfriend, so maybe my ex-boyfriend was also trying to wedge in. And later on did tell me he didn't really want me to get my feelings hurt by Billy. Maybe there was a part of him that wanted to stop us from talking, really. And I caught up with him one more time, one more. Anyways, I went in the back, and then they have like kind of these big booth type of things, and all these people were sitting around, and I pulled up a chair to talk to Billy one more time, and he was going on about how like he wishes he never left. He wishes he never left Skinny Puppy. You know, I think I've heard this come up or something like that was the more successful band, and he's sorry he didn't stay with Skinny Puppy. And so I don't know exactly what those words were, but when I heard him say that, I kind of had a good answer ready. And I think he was listening too, because like, you know, later on, my friend John, so I'm thinking more like going on to like 2007, 2008, like almost 10 years later. It was so cool that my friend John ended up with this video of that concert and the after party. So somebody was taping me talking to Bill Leeb, and I could see me talking to him. And that was the moment when I said, Bill, you don't need Skinny Puppy. Just do what feels natural to you and you will be just fine. Because I was like, play what feels natural to you. And I was doing my fingers like a keyboard. And he was looking and he was listening, and it just seemed like there's a lot of pressure for everyone wanting his attention, like, you know, wanting to butt in and not let us talk, because, you know, if everyone wants to talk to him, that's cool, nothing personal. So, but my ex-boyfriend, so he comes up and he's going blah, 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 to my hair and interrupted me, and I turned around, I was like, ah, I made like a bird's beak. I remember the moment, and I felt so embarrassed because he made me lose my temper. And then Bill got up and scrambled away, and then I went over. I think we were all getting ready to leave. So I wasn't really sure where he was at with me, you know, like I thought he was willing to talk to me, but that other people were driving him off because he didn't like all the tension, you know. So I guess I thought everything was still okay. That's why when before we left, I saw Chris Peterson go up to Bill Leeb and tell him, whatever you do, don't invite these people, like referring to me and Chris, you know, and Bill's like, oh, I know who I'm inviting. And he turns to Carol Ann, and that's where I thought he was trying to get me to go too. And he said where they're going is room 305 at the Ramada Inn, right? So I was excited. I said, all right, I'll see you up there. I think I turned to Carol Ann and I told her, I'll see you up there. And so that's when I went home, and I grabbed my weed and my rolling paper, and I just thought, you know, I bring the party favors, right? I'm thinking they were probably up there sniffing coke, which is why they didn't want me up there. So who knows? I mean, I don't want to say that they were, but it's because of who they were with and the type of people they were with. So that's why I started saying that later. Like, so I got down there, you know, thinking I'm invited. I see the guitar player and the drummer, Jed and Jason. So, and as I went in, they like turned around and ran the other way, like they ditched me. And then I think maybe I saw Chris Peterson walk in with some people, and I was trying to catch up, and that's when he turned around and telling me I'm not invited, that I'm underage, and I'm trying to tell him I'm 23 years old. I'll show you my ID. And then that's when he was telling me, you know, I can't trust it. It could be a fake for all he knows. And then, but I was coming up the hall with them, and they were getting to the elevator, and he goes, I just want my peace and quiet. And these people are invited because they're peaceful. And then, you know, I didn't want to get in any trouble. That's why I went up and called Bill Leeb first. And then, so I got him on the phone, and he said, oh, he's just going to go to bed. You know, he can't come down. He's got to go to bed. And after I talked a moment, then he said, well, he asked if I was alone. And that's when I said, well, I don't know what he meant by, are you with someone? I wasn't sure if he was asking if I'm single or if I'm, you know, traveling alone. I said, well, I don't have anybody with me in the lobby. So I just wanted to give him a clear answer, because like I wasn't with anyone either. I didn't have a boyfriend. But he told me just wait there and he'll try to come down. So he may or may not come down there. But then the people from the Kevorkian death cycle came through, and those were the ones going, she's a stalker. And you know, like, just to top it off, they're just like another, you know, one of these boring, pretentious bands, you know, like they're like, ooh, we're scary, you know, like, and of course, so those are the people who come through and yell that out, right? And then the clerk of the hotel told me I'm not invited. They talked to the people, and so yeah, I went home and I cried my eyes out. I was so upset, you know, and the next day, I did try one more time to, like, I figured, you know, I got up early enough. I actually walked down to the Ogden Theater thinking maybe they'll be getting on the tour bus or around there, you know, getting ready to leave. And it was perfect timing, you know, because it was like they were just coming from the Ramada Inn, and Bill was walking down the street with this suitcase like this. And I actually got to Chris Peterson. He's like, hey, you know, it's nothing personal. We just didn't want underage people up at our party because we had alcoholic beverages. It was nothing personal. You didn't do anything wrong. And then Bill came along, and I went up to him. He's like, no time to talk. I got to go. And so he was like hurrying down the alley with his suitcase. And, but, you know, trying to tell me it was just, you know, just to be safe around, they don't want to get in trouble for an underage person drinking in their hotel room was his polite excuse, right? So anyways, and reflecting on that, you know, like it took me years to understand that the woman was really his wife. And then there was another woman there named Bree. I didn't know who she was, but I heard about her years later, that Bree was also interested in Bill Leeb, and so maybe she was also trying to contact him around the same time. But then she had to come and find out that Bill Leeb had a wife. So she tried Kevin Key, so she succeeded. So she was a girl from Denver, like a pretty artist chick, you know, kind of popular in the club scene. So, you know, she managed to get with Kevin Key. So I think, you know, like me and her are two different people. Like she's looking for a rock star boyfriend because she's got social status and she can get a rock star boyfriend. And when she failed to get Bill Leeb, she moves on to the next rock star. And so, like, that's where we're really different. I'm not like, I'm looking for a rock star boyfriend. If anything, I feel like, I don't really, like, I want to be with somebody that's into music and stuff, but I'm not like the rock star girlfriend looking for the rock star boyfriend, you know, that type of thing. And so totally different agenda for mine. And then, of course, later on, those people broke up. So no meaning in that relationship. And then, at the same time, I think Chris Peterson was hitting it off with the girl that worked over at Fashion Nation with the long blonde hair. Can't think of her. Oh, Lisa. Okay, yeah. So he got with her, but I wasn't aware of that until later. So I felt like, you know, when I found that out, I just felt like, oh, I see Chris Peterson was taking sides with those guys because he liked the girl over there and stuff. So, you know, these are some of the immediate thoughts is like, but the people from Fashion Nation ruined it for me. Then later came to find out it was really Bill Leeb's ex-wife who ruined it for me. But who could blame her, you know? I mean, he's such a hot, sexy rock star. So not only that, like, okay, so I'm telling my good friend Jeremy about this, and Jeremy says he's played in a band and he knows a little bit about the music industry, and, you know, and he kind of like laid into me like, Jody, Bill Leeb is a media icon, and you cannot just walk up to a media icon like that and talk to them or make friends, you know. And I'm like, yeah, but, you know, my dad's friends always liked me, you know. My mom and dad have known a lot of musicians, and I felt like they always liked me and they always thought I was cool. So I figured, you know, Bill Leeb would also think I'm cool too. And so I was really disappointed to find out that he would rather hang out with the fashion snobs, you know. And so and now that I have a more clear perception, it's what I call coming into a narcissistic system. So, you know, kind of something where, like, you know, the person at the top has these people around them, like, you know, like Carol Ann coming up and being friendly to me, but then sort of running a smear campaign against me. And all the people that, you know, she gets to take her side, they call those the flying monkeys, right? So the colorful psychology terminology is getting people to take sides, you know. And, you know, so I didn't know somebody was saying, oh my God, this psycho bitch is trying to get my husband in bed. So, like, you know, there's a couple things that she had against me. One, my letter, probably, because I said, you know, I think I remembered him from when I was a kid. He was my boyfriend, but it could have been a vision. Plus, I've had some really cool dreams. I don't know if I told him about the white light dream too. I might have told him about that. And then, you know, this weird chick, you know, want to join his band. And I think his wife already decided I'm crazy. But then when she saw the way I was dancing, that probably really added more confirmation to her notion that I just might be a crazy person. And it's her job to protect Bill Leeb from me, right? So now that I know more, maybe, you know, their relationship was on the rocks, because only a few years later, he got the girlfriend and according to her, it's as if their relationship was over by then. So maybe they were already having issues. And so, like, kind of talking about my upbringing and how you become a family scapegoat. Sometimes that kind of keeps happening to you and again because it gets patterned into you. And, you know, people kind of respond to each other on a subconscious level. Like, you have all these different little traits, how you express yourself, how you hold your posture. And so you could get victimized by people if you come across as being too easy to manipulate. And I think that's where I'm so frustrated in life. I just feel like I keep turning into the person that gets manipulated and put down and singled out, even though I'm not really doing anything wrong. And in this case, you know, something I've learned is when somebody's doing something that they're ashamed of, but they're too prideful to take accountability, what they love is deflection. So, you know, having all these people turned against me by the wife was a perfect escape for Bill Leeb. You know, so if he's interested in seeing other women, and that's something he doesn't want to be the point of attention, then it makes things a lot more convenient for him to have all that attention turned on me. So in a roundabout way, he sort of stood back and let me eat shit for a number of years, you know, by people ridiculing me for my whole situation here, you know, like, and you can say, well, yeah, there are a lot of things I've done to bring it on myself and make things worse, but so I can't like blame everything on Carol Ann, like it's not all her fault, but it's like I didn't realize she was instigating the negative experience that we had that night. So it's really where a lot of times bands don't like bringing their wives and girlfriends around what they're doing, because they can interfere and make things worse for reasons like this. Like, for example, with like Joy Division, they had a no girl policy, but Steve Morris, the drummer, was bringing his girlfriend over. And it kind of worked out because when Ian Curtis killed himself, then they were able to get Jillian to come and help the band. So the reason she got to break that rule, because Jill was chill. However, Carol Ann, at least in this case, I felt like I wonder if the interaction would have went better if it wasn't for her. You know, like I feel like I'm the one being held accountable for all the negativity, and all the blame is being placed on me. But the real accountability is held by Bill and Carol Ann, because, you know, maybe he's taken an interest in other women, and Carol Ann's kind of acting out as a result. But at the same time, I feel like I'm the one who got targeted and kind of made a scapegoat for somebody else's wrongdoing, like, because, you know, Billy wants to have sex with other people besides his wife. I was the one who got punished, and it just seems to be like my whole life story. That's where I feel like, you know, maybe meeting Bill Leeb has, and the visionary state has some parallel in making me like wake up to like what's going on with me. Like, maybe I do have to recognize what my mental condition is, or if I have a mental illness, then I need to recognize it. And it's like these people were put in my life to say, hey, guess what, Jody, you're mentally ill. I feel like that's the biggest message I'm getting out of meeting these people, at least from this experience. It's like, it's time to wake up and recognize that, Jody, you're mentally ill. And in a way, it's like it has caused me to have to go back and examine myself and look at what my problem is. And it comes from, you know, when you're made a scapegoat, you know, like, it's like I'm being punished because my dad wanted to have sex with my mom, but he didn't want to have the kid, you know. So I'm being punished because of other people that want to have sex, right? So, you know, it's not fair to say that. Maybe that's not 100% true, but it's kind of funny to put it in that with light, just to laugh, you know, like, so I'm being punished because this guy wants to have sex or that guy wants to have sex, and it's not my fault, you know. So I didn't do anything wrong. But the problem also you get is reaction abuse. So like if you've been provoked and I have a bad temper, of course I've made things worse because I have a bad temper, and by being kind of confused about what's going on and being very vocal about it. So anyways, absolutely going to hold myself accountable for my mistakes in this case. But currently speaking, like you know, I've gone over this stuff with Bill Leeb, but at least I've written to him about it, and so like he already knows all this stuff, and he probably knows how I feel about the whole thing too. So like I don't know if he really needs to watch this video himself. But I've shared a lot of this, and I wrote a letter to him in 2005, and I tried to like explain what happened here, like the dreams and visions that led up to it, and then some of the stuff that's coming next. And so so I guess someday maybe when we make the Jody documentary or whatever, maybe he'll have that long letter I wrote to him available. So anyways, you guys, this has been my story about, when I went to see Frontline Assembly, a lot of stuff that was leading up to it and why it was impactful. Like, I don't want to place blame on anyone, but it was impactful to me. Maybe there's so many things that got me feeling hopeful about meeting them. So many things hopeful about the music scene. Like coming to Denver and being part of a music scene. Like my dreams were crushed. I just had to accept that it's too late for this, it's too late for that, it's too late for Bill Leeb. If I was ever meant to connect with him at that point, it just seemed like this is impossible to do. And so that's why it's amazing that a couple of other things happened to still keep me interested, because this seemed like this should have been the end of the line, and this should have been the point where I just walk away. Jody, just walk away. Jody, just forget about it. Easier said than done. That's why I'm telling you this whole story with all the details. Like, if you understand exactly what I was put through, you can see why I can't just forget about this guy. Like, what was the key phrase growing up? Jody, whatever you do, don't forget who I am, or you may never see me again. So I guess there's a part of me that really hoped to get Billy back, and if there's any chance that Bill Leeb and Billy were the same person, I was hoping to get him back. And if not, then I'm absolutely delusional. So I really just want a person that never existed. And the person who does exist isn't really the same person. So it's really hard to say. But I always say, like, hey, Billy can be just who he is and how he is. If he wanted me to be in his life, he would just have to be someone who's a lot like Rosie, where they're just happy to see me every time. And they really like me the way I am. And they don't really, fuck with me that much. That's all he'd need, and we'd be friends for life. Absolutely. So anyways, you guys, I don't want to ramble too long. I think I always hate it when I finish a video and I forget something important, like going to that concert. What did I think in hindsight? Absolutely. So there's a lot of narcissism that comes with the music scene, and a lot of it I didn't really expect. So here's the irony. So I thought, okay, I just don't like this music scene. This music scene is fucked up. But then now that I'm older, what I was really running into was it's the institution of marriage and the Catholic religion that are coming between us. So not so much the music scene, but the marriage issue. And so the thing is Bill Leeb has also been divorced and remarried to this woman. So I feel like she's been one of the biggest advocates for keeping us apart and not letting us have a friendship. So as long as he's married to her, I can pretty much kiss it goodbye, because even if Bill Leeb did like me, and even if he did want to be my friend, he's never going to admit it. And we're never going to achieve that as long as he wants to keep things right with that person. So anyways, that's just my piece of it, my understanding, and nothing against those people. I definitely feel like, if Billy wanted to be my friend, he's more than welcome. But Carol Ann's not really the type of person I'd go out of my way to make friends with. But to me, like, if she does like me and she did value my friendship, regardless of all this stuff, she's always welcome too. So, me and her have been in touch, and it seemed like we were making friends back, back in 2010, 2011, when we got in touch on Facebook. But I'd say about 5 years or so ago, when I was trying to get a hold of Bill Leeb, and I was trying to figure out why he's saying, hey, you're more than welcome to call me, but he wasn't taking my calls. I'm just thinking, I wonder if it's a woman thing. And so I asked her, and no, we had some back and forth. But one of the things she said to me, like, Jody, the problem with you, or the thing that makes you crazy, is that you obsess over what you imagine. And I feel like, well, it's because of people that say stuff like that. I want to clarify, what has happened to me. That's not just my imagination. I'm totally obsessed over it, of course, but I want to be truthful with myself and truthful with others on, like, what's happening, what I understand about what's happening, and what I should do about it, of course, is be open-minded. And the best thing I can do is just I can be here for Bill. He's always welcome to my life, and just really try to say praise when you can for people. Like, if they say, if you don't have something nice to say, you shouldn't say it. And it's quite true with the kind words that you could say. And that's why I really try to remind you that, like, I've gone through an ugly experience. This is like over 25 years ago, and I'm a little bit upset about it, and I've had a lot of opinions about it. But my current notion is, I really do think Bill Leeb is a beautiful human being. I don't know him personally. I don't know if he seems like a nice guy, and some people seem like a nice person, but they can still be a very mentally abusive person, so I don't know if that's the case, but I definitely have always liked him, and I think I've always loved him, just sort of in a kindred way. And when it comes to, like, you know, would I marry him or not, that's a big question for somebody you don't know personally. But like, with all this stuff being done to me, and it's made it almost impossible for me to fall in love with another person. Like, you know, he probably has a shot at it, as long as, like I said, he's like Rosie in the sense that always happy to see me, likes me the way I am, isn't a mentally emotional or abusive person, you know. The sky's the limit, you know. So it's like that, you know. I'm not asking for anything. I'm just saying that's how open-minded I am. Is like, this is how close you can come, you know, like that type of thing. And otherwise, you know, it's up in the air to the extent it's like it's something where, like, it's probably never going to happen. But if it did happen, I've had plenty of warning. So hopefully I won't have a heart attack if the guy shows up here with a bouquet of synthesizers. So that's what you would bring me instead of roses. Bring a bouquet of synthesizers and CDs. I don't know. So that's the kind of girl I am. But I'll probably be single the rest of my life, so I better go to the sex toy store soon and solve those issues now. Ha! There's a little more of my dirty humor. Like, I don't have super dirty humor, but I love to joke about sex. And before I go, I just want to say thank you for anyone who's listening or anyone who cares to understand me, you know, because I think this concert's very pivotal in, like, everything else that's going to happen and leading up to the extent that I'm stuck here in Montana sorting out all this junk. And so at the same time, sorting out all my you know, everything that's happened to me, sorting out these visions, sorting out, you know, what should I do with the rest of my life? And I really want to spend the rest of my life as an artist. So I like to think maybe all these visions with Bill Leeb and stuff, it's all part of my artist training and my warrior training. And he's such a good example of an artist. You know, maybe that's why he's being used as the character in the story in my visionary state. So even if we don't make good friends, Bill Leeb definitely represents the part of me who is an artist, and to some extent. And you know, I hope I don't start another frontline assembly. Like, that's not what I'm trying to do. But you know, like, everybody has their favorite artist that they can say, if it wasn't for them, like Bill Leeb says, if it wasn't for Cabaret Voltaire, there wouldn't be frontline assembly. So that's a pretty big statement. And I kind of feel like that about New Order and Cabaret Voltaire as well as Frontline Assembly. So I do have a few other influences that we have in common. So I think that's kind of cool. I've always wanted to meet a guy who was a big fan of some of those bands that I also really cherished. So anyways, again, I'm going longer than I wanted, but I really want people to understand, no matter what I say, Bill Leeb is someone who I highly value. So you guys have a good day, and I'll talk to you next time.